Okay, hey, hello, what's up? I said that I would have another video up today, and that video is of Remnant 2. I'd actually been playing Remnant 2 for a pretty long time this week. I'm completely new to the game, and while playing the game, I've made it to, I want to say, let me actually check the hours that I have in it. Okay. Well, that makes it seem like I haven't been playing it a long time. I've actually been playing for 14.5 hours, so nearly 15 hours total. And I've actually been enjoying the game a whole lot. So I've never actually played Remnant 1. I have it on Steam as well as Remnant 2. And I'd say I played probably 1 minute of Remnant 1, and that was in the tutorial, and then I got off. Some time later, one of my friends was talking about 2, never really got on it. So then I ended up getting on it just to see what the hype was originally about, since I know it to be a pretty popular game. And when I got on, I was I was just thrown back because the tutorial to me kind of felt like the tutorial in 1, and I was like, oh man, am I really getting into this? I would just really wasn't for sure. But what ended up happening was I actually saw a link where people were making builds for 2, and the builds in 2 actually looked really fun and really cool, really interesting, and I really liked the idea of them. So what I decided to do was try to utilize a build and put it together and then play with my friend in 2. So apparently my friend never really finished story, and I've never played the game at all, so I figured it would be a great opportunity for both of us to play story together. While looking through my build, I found out that I actually need to play through 2 different DLCs to get my hands on about 4 different items. And then the rest of my items would be caught through the main story game. So I basically spent probably 2 to 3 days playing 1 DLC, and then I hopped over to the next DLC after and stopped about, I don't know, maybe an hour in. And so far, that's pretty much been my entire playthrough of the game. I did play a little bit of the campaign. I have not made it far at all. In fact, the friend that was trying to play with me is actually farther than me, and he's constantly told me that he's made no progress in the campaign at all. Meaning that if he's farther than me, I've done pretty much nothing at all in the game. So, my game plan is actually going to be playing through the rest of this other DLC, and then turning around, playing through the campaign, and playing with him through the campaign. So far, the type of game that Remnant 2 is, and my friend talked about it, and I feel like this is probably a pretty accurate description, is just Elden Ring with guns, maybe even Dark Souls with guns. I've never played Dark Souls, so once I get that game serious, it'll most likely be added up here as well. But yeah, it's a Souls-like, but there are some differences. So, like, when you die, as far as I know, you don't drop or lose anything, meaning that you don't have to run back to pick things up and then come back and sit at, like, your checkpoint to, bank whatever or anything of the sort. You can quite literally just play the game. And if you die, you respawn at some checkpoint and you keep pushing, which is actually really nice. So far, I've played through 1 entire DLC mission, and it was a whole lot of fun. Defeating one of the bosses gave me this really special weapon, gave me some mods that you can put on weapons, and apparently what mods are like these extra add-ons that you can put on weapons that do a whole bunch of different things, from essentially shooting out traps at enemies to shooting entirely new attacks at enemies, which is actually pretty awesome. Outside of mods, you run with this typical setup of a primary weapon, a secondary weapon, and a melee weapon, and you have all 3 equipped at the same time all the time, and you can choose what you want for your primary, your secondary, and your melee through different shops, and those weapons usually are not super expensive to get your hands on. Outside of the shops, you can roam around the open world and get your hands on them as well. I say the open world, but whatever the world is at the time that you're exploring, you can get your hands on as well. When you start the game, you are classless. When you basically get through towards the end of the tutorial, you are given a class, and with that class, you can use to get a jump start on a game. And that class comes with its own weapon, its own set of gear, things of that nature, and then you utilize from there. What I did not know was you can change your class on the fly. You don't need to talk to anybody. You can just click it and change it, and boom, you can have a different class, which I thought was pretty cool. I assume the classes keep their levels when you switch, but I haven't really tried that yet. Some cool things that I've noticed about the game is that there's a lot of things that are just hidden around the game, and so the game, it seems like, really like, I keep wanting to say benefits, and eventually I use the word praise, but it's like you're rewarded, right? It awards people who explore. Just running around the game aimlessly, looking around at different things. I got my hands on several tomes of knowledge, which are just little books that you can use to level yourself up. If you level yourself up, you can put more skill points in more categories, and they can help you in different ways. For example, mine helps me with my skill cooldown, so I can use cooldowns, I can use my skills way more often, which I think is cool. You could end up finding extra pieces of gear as well as gear sets, which I did as well. So now I have different accessories that give me different stats. One of them was like a ring that gives me even more EXP, which I feel like I probably would have never found if I didn't go just walking around, looking around, and exploring. So I think that that is actually really nice. The game teaches you a bunch of different mechanics. So while playing, I've been, exposed to new mechanics and trying to get down a better understanding of what to do and how to do it, and if I could even take on whatever content with whatever it is I have at that moment. And the answer is yes. At one point, I was fighting bosses with a certain class, and I felt like with the weapons and stuff I had, I just didn't have the reach to fight that class. And sure enough, when I used one of my skills, it hit the boss, even though, like, from an animation standpoint, it didn't. The attacks actually did. And I thought that that was really cool that I didn't have to switch off, right? Because my gun at the time definitely wasn't doing enough damage. With that being said, it does feel like there are like some puzzles that you need to problem solve in a game, which can be pretty fun, but can also be pretty annoying depending on how it is you decide to run the game. Something else that I noticed is there's a lot of different options and responses that you can get from the things that you do. So, for example, you could talk to an NPC, and the one, like, I guess, line of dialogue could get you one item, but another line of dialogue can get you a completely different item, or maybe another line of dialogue can get you no item, right? You could go to fight a boss, and if you kill a boss by taking its weapon out first and then killing the boss, you get a specific item, but if you don't take the weapon out first, then you get another item. And if you kill another boss in another order and then go back and kill that boss, you get a completely different item. That's some stuff that I've seen in like the YouTube shorts, because I was looking around for stuff in the game and a lot just came up. Something that kind of had me just flabbergasted is one of the DLCs so far that I've played actually comes with a separate class. And the class is pretty strong. It's pretty crazy. I didn't think it was going to be in a game like this, the way that it plays at least. And when I got it, well, I should say it took me a while to get it. The instructions on how to get it based off the video that I was following was unclear. But to be honest, this was my opening to the game, so following a very short guide where the YouTuber doesn't show you how to get your hands up on the item that you need up to that point, but basically talks you through it as if like you're supposed to already know where things are, was a little frustrating. When I actually managed to find out where to go just from exploring and playing after throwing my hands up, and actually got to where it is I needed to get to, there's like a specific place you got to be, and you've got to wait there for a few minutes, and when you do, you get access to the next class. But if you never watched the guide or a walkthrough on how to actually get to that point, chances are you would never get that class, which is pretty insane. So I thought that was interesting. Other than that, there's just a ton of exploration, and I feel like it's pretty cool because you get to see how beautiful the game looks and where everything is, and what all it is that you can interact with. And sometimes you'll find things that I assume have nothing to do with the story or the game at all, but maybe it will, and you just never know. There is a fragment system, which essentially is just you picking up random pieces of bonuses around the game, and those bonuses, I guess, will add on to each other over time, constantly building each other up so that they get strong enough to actually make an effect towards your character as a whole. Meaning that, like, you could pick up a fragment that helps with skill cooldown, and when you pick up your first fragment, it might be skilled like cooldown by like 1%. And then, maybe 2 hours later, you pick up another fragment that boosts it an extra 2.5%. Now your skill cooldown to 3.5 plus the skill points that you've been putting in, and now your skill cooldowns are speeding up, and the more you play, the more they go. I don't know what the cap is. And so I'm still figuring out a lot of those things, but it's been pretty fun getting to just move stuff around and try stuff out. It's been pretty fun getting to equip different weapons and see how they feel. It's been pretty fun getting to explore and experience the game without, a flat out, walkthrough or guide or whatever helping you through or helping me through. I will admit that looking around for builds and whatnot, I thought was pretty fun. They have like their own kind of dedicated website tailored with all these different builds, and I think that that is actually really cool. I really like that. Not a lot of games do it, and so games that do offer builds are usually games that I will definitely give a try, and I thought it would be really fun to do this one, so I went with it. Because dying kind of goes unpunished outside of respawning at a checkpoint and having to explore from that point forward all over again. It is pretty nice having the map already discovered from places where you walk, so you know where you've been. The missions, I think, get a little confusing at times because they have little indicators over their doors and whatnot that will show where places have been discovered, but they don't call it discovered. They use some word that's like synonymous to that mission being explored, like that area being explored and cleared. So you could walk into a room, walk back out, keep exploring the map that you've been exploring, and a door that you just walked out of will say something like, oh yeah, you've explored this area. And it's like, no, you haven't, You walked in and you touched a waypoint, but you haven't seen anything on it. So like, you kind of got to like make notes on your computer, on your phone, on paper. Hey, this is an area that I've seen, but I have not walked through. Because, at any point you could skip past it, go do something else, forget about it, and have never touched it. Yeah, one of like the first places I ran into when I joined the game was like a dungeon, and I had no idea if the dungeon was mandatory or if it would actually give anything worthwhile, so I just ran it through. I think it gave like a few things that were actually super useful, but if I would have never done it, I would have never known. So I think that's like my biggest takeaway from the game is just there's a lot of exploring. And so really getting to focus and like wrap yourself up in a world and see things that are around you and do the bubbles and do the puzzles and whatnot, I think would be a whole lot of fun. And I think it has been a whole lot of fun. Because you can change your class at any time, you could essentially try out any kind of different type of playstyle, especially since you can change your weapons at any time from the shop, as long as you buy the weapon, because once you buy it, it's in your inventory, or once you get your hands on a weapon, because once you get it, it's in your inventory. So being able to, try these different playstyles out, or use one thing for running through open worlds and then use another thing for when you're going to fight bosses, I think it's pretty cool. I like the general gist of it. I like the idea of it. It has been a lot of fun. If there is anything I could change, it would probably be the way that missions like are laid out to help you see things a little smoother, see things a little easier. But I mean, this is my first, I guess, let's just say 15 hours in the game. So there's still a lot more for me to see, change, and do. And I've actually taken a little bit of a break from the game. So when I get back, I know it's going to be a little jarring, but it has been fun. I also haven't really been using any of the consumables in the game at all, and I've been getting a good handful of them from just playing. I've had to change my keybinds like a million times to figure out what would be most comfortable for what it is I want to do. I've seen comments and reviews or something where people were like, oh my gosh, you can use consumables, right? There's consumables in the game, just really goofy stuff like that, as if to say some people have said that they played the game without using them at all. So yeah, I mean, that was just all over the place, but so far I've really been enjoying this game, and I tend to find myself liking Souls-like games a lot. Maybe Deep Woken was the startup for me in that regard. But yeah, that's it. See ya. Oh, and also one other thing. So I actually have a ton of recordings, even though it was 15 hours. I want to say my computer got majority of those 15 hours recorded. What I think I will actually plan to do is upload some of like the goofier content and stuff with actual voice and whatnot to my gaming channel. There was this part where I had to run through a puzzle, and my friend was helping me the entire step of the way, and he's never really played the game before, and it was just chaotic, but it was a whole lot of fun. So that'll probably get uploaded. I'll probably look over it, edit some stuff out, and post that out. So I guess look out for that.